Hello, Focus fam. So for today's video, we're actually going to tell a little bit of a testimony. And as weird as it may sound, this past weekend, we picked up a stranger from the street. I want to say that this kind of testimony started basically on Friday. Well, God had placed in my brother's heart to title his message, or a message that God was talking to him, called Impact. And so based on the word that God had placed in my brother's heart after the retreat that just happened a couple of weekends ago, we decided to base our youth sermon, make an impact, and in Spanish was haz un impacto. What it is to make an impact. He was saying that the biggest way that we can make an impact in people's lives is through sharing the gospel and evangelizing and giving people love, giving people hope, giving people peace and kindness, or what God had placed in his heart on Friday. When we were talking and discussing about that, we didn't know what God actually had in store for us the next day, and how God was going to use what we had just talked about the day before and how to put that into action. So this is where our next part of the testimony, and really where the bulk of the testimony relies on. We had to run some errands as family in the morning, and then after that we decided that we were going to go to my aunt's salon, and we had two separate cars. There was no reason for me for us to go as well. My mom was the only one who needed to go to the salon. We didn't. But we just you know what, let's just go. We have nothing better to do, and let's just go to the salon. Plus there's Wi-Fi there, right? We like Wi-Fi. And so we decided to go, and we were this close not even to stay, because my aunt's salon was very full. My mom was like, you know what, it's so many people, might as well come on Tuesday. But something pushed her to stay. All of a sudden, it was time for us to go. We left. We were already on our way home, and then so my stepfather was about to leave, and he states that he saw a young man just walking by. It seemed like he was homeless, that he had been living on the streets for a very long time. And he was telling us, and he was testifying us that something in his heart was telling him, no, turn around, go and talk to that young man. No, and his spirit was just kept talking to him. And so he did the most craziest thing and just went, turn around, just to stop this one guy, this young man that was on the streets, that was already on our way home. And you're calling us now, we have to go. And then my sister was the one driving, and she's like, you know what, no, we gotta go. And so God was just working in each one of our hearts, and that is when we had to really realize that we had to put our faith, or what we had already listened to the day before at church, the sermon that we were listening to, we had to put that into action. And we were hearing that he was evangelizing this young man. And so then after that, he gave us the floor, and I started evangelizing him and telling him a little bit about my testimony. And then my brother started evangelizing him, and also he was telling him we were just learning about being undefeated, and that we have a sole purpose in God, and that we should not have a defeated mindset. And so he was putting into practice what he had just learned the retreat, and we were putting into practice what we had just learned the day before. That is the whole purpose of church, is not just to go and listening to a sermon. I'm going astray a little bit, but is to put into action what we go and we learn in our in our services. So we were putting into action what we were learning on the streets. He was telling us that the night before he had slept underneath a tent. He was sleeping on a mattress, but the mattress was wet. So imagine this young man getting stalked by these Latin people. He's probably like, "Están locos." My stepfather felt in his heart to feed him, and so we gave him food. We were like, "Well, where are you going? Where's your route?" And he was telling, I have to go down Tomball and to go to Jewett, Texas. That Tomball takes me to Jewett, Texas. We're like, "Well, our church is in Tomball." But we didn't know where Jewett, Texas was at that moment. God had placed in my heart, like, "Well, why don't we just go drop him off?" We were all in one same spirit, and we were just caring so much for this young man. Actually research where was Jewett, Texas. We came to conclusion that it was almost 2 hours away from our location, which we weren't going to do that drive. It was really late at that time. Plan was, okay, we'll book him a room, and then we'll take him to church tomorrow, and then after that we'll take him to wherever it is, or to find someone that we can meet halfway with to pick up this guy. This is where social media is used in the right way. We were able to reach his mom, and so then she was telling me that she hadn't heard or talked to her son in about a year and a half or so. That just broke my heart, and all of us, we just felt in our hearts that we just had to somehow reunite this family. Once again, this young man had lost his identification. Either he got lost it or they stole it. And then when we went to the hotel, they were like, because he has no form of identification, he is not allowed to stay and spend the night here, because if anything were to happen to him, which is understandable, if anything were to happen to him, there are no way to identify him. No, man, we don't want him to stay on the streets. Like, we just don't want this. Like, we felt for him because he's so young, and we just did not want that to happen. And then I tell my stepdad, can we just take him home? I know this is different. We've never done this. I'm telling you, we have never done this before. This is the first time we've ever talked about such thing or thought about such thing. We never brought a stranger home, but we decided to do so. I heard his mother's cry when I was talking to her on the phone, and I'm just like, no, we can't leave him on the streets. We have to bring him home. And my mom was just like, let's bring him home. We were all in the same spirit, and that was God's love towards this young man, honestly, that we were all unified, and we just all decided together, let's care for him. And so we decided, we're gonna buy you new clothes, because he was in need of new clothes. He was in need of just a new outfit. We went and we took him to Walmart. We never did that because we want to glorify us or try to lift our names. No, we did this to glorify him, to glorify God, to demonstrate people that love of God does still exist in this time, and that we as Christians can do that, and we can make an impact to those people who are in need of love. Before we fell asleep on Saturday, we decided, to read more of the scripture with him, try to evangelize him as much as we can, teach him about who Jesus was as much as we can. And Sunday we took him to church. And even though the church services are in Spanish, we tried to translate as much as we could. He did not misbehave whatsoever. He followed all of our instructions, and he did well. And so we were at peace that even though we brought a stranger home, everything, because we listened to God, God did not allow anything bad to happen, because it was, I guess, a task from God to us, and honestly to test our faith and to see if we can actually put into action what, as a pastoral family or as ministers, if we're actually going to go through with what we teach, And so we did. Thankfully, we passed the test, On Sunday, we took him to church, and then finally tried to meet them halfway, because we live far as well, and they live really far. So we tried to meet at least an hour and a half in between. And so we did. When you see those pictures of how they were like hugging, and she was like desperately to see him, and he was happy to see her once again. It was a beautiful reunion. They kept saying thank you and thank you, that they won't be able to thank us enough. But honestly, the person who should they be thanking is God, because God is the one who placed that in our hearts. Because honestly, if it weren't for God, we wouldn't have done something like that on our own. I don't think that we would have taken a stranger home. It was all God sent. He was the one who put everything in order. We hugged each other like if we knew each other for a very long time, and it was just such a precious moment to see a family reunited and what God did with them. It was just a beautiful, beautiful experience that I wish that a lot of people can encounter. And I guess my message is that we are able to make an impact in people's lives, and we are able to make a difference. It's just a matter of allowing God to do such that. And be the light. Share God's love to others, because that is our purpose on earth. And with this testimony, we just want to glorify God. I hope this testimony was a big of a blessing to you, as it has been to us and to our congregation. And so that's the testimony. And I know it's long, but we just wanted to glorify God, and we just wanted to share with our viewers. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, like our videos, watch our videos, and share these videos on your social media platforms. Thank you. God bless you. And get focused. God focused.